Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mayor of Kingstown season finale. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up in the aftermath of last episode. Robert's hooked up to a machine, and it's unclear whether or not he's going to make it. He's out, and obviously the hall is lined with cops, and now it's like, what is Mike going to do with this whole situation? Obviously, he's got to meet. It's one thing after another. It's like, now it's the Robert thing. It's like, crap, I got my meeting with Milo. I've only got a little bit of time. Obviously, Kyle's like, I got to go meet up with Tracy. I got to fix things between her and me. Like, everything's kind of screwed up right now. So, on his way, Mike gets stopped by the train. I was like, man, part of me like, I guess you don't want to take the chance, but part of me is like, wouldn't you just like kind of bust through that and just kind of go ahead and make the deal? It's like, but then he gets rolled up on by AB. He kills everyone, but it's still like, cool. I mean, obviously this wasn't going to end with, what was home dude's name? Was it Davidson or Dixon? Because they brought it up later. I think it was Davidson or whatever. It's like, yeah, like, I'm sure Mike popping him wasn't like, it's like, I mean, he already screwed over AB, and then like Davidson came after him, and now it's like they have even more reason to come after him. So it's like, crap. So I'm already missing our meeting. He's heading back to town, and Iris ended up showing up at Miriam's house. Sadly, she didn't come alone. Well, she did, but Milo followed her. Let's not forget, she is being tracked again. Like they when she went back to work for Milo, more so work for Joseph, they put the tracker back in her. So all Milo had to do was follow her back to Miriam's place. And the sad thing is, because Milo is like, oh, you missed our deal. You were trying to screw me over, because it turns out, obviously, Iris killed Joseph last episode. And the fact is, where did she run to? Miriam's house. Essentially, Mike's home. So it's like, he thinks this, because Mike did literally get sidetracked. He's like, all right, Robert got nearly beaten to death within an inch of his life. Plus, AB tried to roll up on me. Yeah. Also, the bonds are in the back of his car that he just told Ian, like, yo, I need you to send somebody to clean up that mess. I don't ever want to have been there type of situation. So, luckily, obviously, the car hadn't been disposed of. By the time they got there later on, the car was still at the scene. But it's like, but Milo's thinking like, oh, you planned all this. Like, maybe when you two were on the phone, you could, like, you pass the code back to each other or something, because that's the only time they've interacted. So he's assuming, oh, Mike, you were trying to make some play or something. It's like, no. He's like, oh, everything just happened to, like, fall into, like, all like this. She just happens to kill Joseph at the same time. It's like, sadly, yes. Because Mike's got a lot on his shoulders. A lot of stuff is falling onto him. Plus, Iris killed Joseph because of what he was about to do. And it's like, well, Joseph's not alive to be like, oh yeah, I set this whole thing up. Like, he probably thinks like, oh, maybe Iris lured him there and he killed him. It's like, no, he set her up and he was going to beat her up and rape her. So, yeah, she had to do what she had to do, but the timing just worked out like that. And you're like, jeez, man. And it's like, yeah, it feeds into Milo's paranoia. Mike's stressing because obviously he had to call Ian to help him clean up that mess with the AB situation, because he tried to call Kareem for help, but it's like, I need your help. But Kareem's like, I'm just going to do what I can. I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to skirt outside the lines. I'm just going to do what is, I keep the prisons as standard as they're supposed to be, which for Mike is like, how was there any standard going on considering AB literally took a shot at me? But it's like, Kareem's like, yeah, I got to be here for my family. He's trying to, for him, he's like, the Kareem he's like, basically looks at himself as a dead man walking. He's like, they took that away from me. They took me from my family, and now I can't get back. I'm struggling to get back. And his wife wants to kind of leave town. It's like, yeah, let's start over. I mean, exactly what Tracy wants, considering everything. And it's like, I mean, everything has spiraled out, so everyone's trying, once again, getting out of Kingstown's a lot easier said than done, but hey, maybe Kareem will. With everything that goes down, who knows if Kyle will, because Mike rolls up, he brings Kyle, got Ian as backup, and because Mike had to buy time because he doesn't have the bonds on him, because he can't go all the way to get the bonds and come back, and it's like, yeah, like, because he knows there's no time for that. I also forgot to talk about him and Bunny's fallout, which it's like, because he rolled up on Bunny, he's like, what did you do? He's like, I was at the hospital. There is a sea of blue there. You're going to war. You started a war you don't want. If Robert dies, it's done. It's finished. Nothing will ever be the same, you know? It's like, especially between you and me, it changes everything you do and what you did. But for Buddy, he made it clear. It's like, yo, if it's between you and me in a corner and you're the only thing between me and my air, my freedom, yo, I'll run you through. And it's just like, for Mike, it's just like, yo, we were tight. And it's like, I understand your anger, but I expressly told you not to do this. This whole thing has always been this delicate balance. Once again, this whole thing was started by, their dad. And especially, once again, this all was tossed on to Mike once Mitch died. And I guess the argument could be, it's always been, you know, on the cusp of falling apart. The moment Mitch died is when I think it really, but once again, the riot really was like the thing that really said, but I think maybe the argument could be, this has always been this balancing knife act situation. And I guess your tightrope act would be the better thing, but, you know, using the metaphor of like a balancing a knife on the back of your hand or just in your palm or whatever, or even on your finger if you want to go like the Thanos route. But it's like, yeah, it's always been a balancing act. And I think Mitch's death is what set everything in motion. Because it's like, yeah, Mike isn't Mitch, and he's been trying to do everything he can, but everything's falling apart. You know, everything has literally imploded. So what this means for him and Bunny's dynamic going forward, who knows? But also for Mike, he made it clear because of AB's move. He's like, yo, he's like, I don't care. We're resetting the table tonight. We're like, fuck that. And so the Bloods and the Crips came together and they stabbed the guy. It's like, yo, this is a message from the mayor. AB's about to get theirs. And they ended up killing the leader of AB. So that's taken care of on that regard. The whole situation at Mike's house turned into a full-blown shootout. Ian's doing his thing. Kyle's doing his thing. Mike's doing his thing. Sadly, when it was all said and done, Miriam got shot, and Kyle realizes the bullet came from him. Luckily, it's an AB gun, but Kyle's stressing out because it's just like everything that's going on. He was already in a bad place. Everything with him and Tracy, and now like not only did my mom get shot, I'm the one. I put a bullet in her, and even later on, Ian's like, yeah, it didn't hit her heart or any like vital organs, but he did make it sound like, oh, it's near her spine. Or it might not even just near her spine. It might have hit her spine. So immediately I'm like, yo, this might be she might get paralyzed type of situation. And it's like, Kyle's eating himself up about this, but Mike is like, no, we're going to tell this story about what happened. It was an AB gun. It was Milo's people that shot her. But for Kyle, it's like, I'm not going to lie. He's like, yes, you are, because you have too much on the line right now. You're going to take this. It was an unfortunate mistake. You're going to take it and you're going to eat it because of your child and because of your wife. You're going to do it for their sake. He's like, and also when mom's going to make it, and when she does, oh boy, are you so fucking grounded. She's going to ground you so hard. If not, she's going to end up, you know, killing you or whatever. But it's like, from Mike, it's like, after all this, you know, it's like, I'm the reason why Milo came to our house. I brought this into our lives. I'm going to be the one to end this, period, you know? So he tried to get in contact with Milo, but it's like, yeah, I don't have your phone number, homie. So I tried to call the club, couldn't get in contact with you. So they went to the club and actually talked to the lady who's kind of like the madam, who kind of runs everything, who runs the girls. And the cavalierness of like, oh, you're asking for Milo. Don't you want to know where she is? It's like, just tell us where Milo is and also call him up. It's like the fact of the matter is, I will have the gangs and I will have the police like busting up your place. Like, you know, it's like, if I don't have the cops busting down your door every so often, I'm gonna have the like gangs like screw up your business by shooting up the place and causing a whole bunch of issues. So it's like, right, I'm gonna keep that in constant rotation if you basically screw with me right now. So do what I'm asking you to do and call Milo. Final setup for the meet. And even Mike being like, right, you might want to get out of town because he's going to kill you after this. And she's like, yeah, I know. But she's like, yeah, I've got friends, I got connections, so you don't need to worry about me. It's like, all right. Kind of basically like, oh, you might want to kind of focus on taking care of yourself. So Kyle called up Tracy, and obviously Tracy got his messages, and she's planning on coming back to Kingstown to, you know, be there, and, you know, and it's like, it's a lot. I was actually kind of surprised. I mean, it's like, I was about to say, I thought Kyle was going to be like, no, I need you to stay there. But it's like, with everything that's going on, but it's like, no, he needs her right now with everything going on. His guilt eating him up, plus his everything with his mom. Because obviously he can't leave to go be with Tracy right now. It's like everything was going down with their mom and their situation. So having her back in Kingstown is good. But it's also just man, Tracy and my child are going to be back in Kingstown. So that's a whole thing in itself. So he even sat down with Robert, and the sad thing, when he was like talking to Robert, obviously Robert's still out, but it's like, right, you're there. You don't have to think about anything. Like you get to just bask in that quiet, which is jacked up to say, but it's like with all the chaos, he's just like, everything out here is screwed. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to worry about, like, yes, you're in your situation. You're like maybe trapped inside your own head right now, but it's quiet. You have at least the benefit of the quiet. It's so loud out here with just everything going on, just everything racing through Kyle's mind. It's a lot. So there was even that interesting line from Milo when he was talking to Iris, where he was basically like, why does Mike care so much for you? It's like, was the lay that good? And she's like, once again, I never slept with Mike. And Milo's think is like, he must think of you as his salvation. And he said an interesting line where he's like, maybe I should kill you right now. Like, put him out of his misery. And because eventually, he'll find out the truth about who and what you really are. Essentially, like, you're not his salvation. You're not worth saving, because Mike believes that, once again, there has been the mentality of, yes, I do a greater good by keeping this balance in Kingstown, this powder keg. That is super on fire right now. That's actually been on fire since last season. That's exploded, but there's still remnants of it that are still filled with gunpowder and on fire, ready to burst it and pop off at any moment in time. The balancing act of what he does as mayor has always kept a bit of a balance. But the fact of the matter is, and he always believed it was for the greater good. He believed that, there was a good in that system. Protecting Iris, for him, it's like, if I could do anything good in my life, it's saving her. If I can get her out of Kingstown, if I can give her some form of a life, then maybe I've done at least one good thing, because I've done at least one thing that is fully and wholly right. But I think for Milo, it's like, oh, she's not your salvation. She's going to be your damnation, because she isn't the helpless minx you think she is. The fact of the matter is, she's a vixen. She's a terrible person in disguise. It's kind of, I think, how Milo's trying to paint her, so I think that's also how Iris sees herself as well, because I don't think she sees herself as someone that is worth saving. She believes she doesn't believe she's worth saving. So, and for her, she doesn't understand why Mike. She understands, I think, on some level of, like, Mike, she thinks, like, oh, like, by saving me, you think you're going to save yourself, but, there is no saving either one of us. We're both damned, and I don't know why you waste your time. But maybe on some level, there is a part of her that does, I don't know, because they both get something from each other. Like, they feel like some void inside of themselves and each other. So, but Mike's got Ian on the sniper rifle. He goes in to make his deal with Milo. He got Iris. This is all done. But it's like, yeah, wait till we get out of here. I was like, did you put a bomb in a bag or something like that? And then the boat exploded. I'm like, oh, so did you? Or was that Milo? I have no idea what the way it plays out. But luckily, I had Ian do his thing. It wasn't just him. Iris did too. And then Mike put the final guy down. So I was like, because I was on pins and needles the entire time. I was like, please don't let anything happen to Iris. Because I was like, I wasn't too worried about Mike, but I was like, yo, something could definitely happen to Iris. But luckily it didn't. But now it's like, okay, so I was about to say, because I was like, Mike didn't have, because like, it could have been something in the bag, but I'm like, that most likely had to be Milo. Because Milo, like, this whole thing was supposed to be his exit strategy anyway with the bonds. So most likely, like, he set a bond up on the boat and he ended up getting away, because the lady he's talking to later on, she's like, oh, he's like, yeah, everything went according to plan. I'll be back. So either Milo got his bonds, but he's actually staying in Kingstown, or he's going by and picking her up. Maybe. So I wonder if that's supposed to be implying, like, wasn't a baby one of his girl's babies, because the one that he ended up killing, the one from last season? I wonder, is that actually his actual child? I don't remember if we knew that or not, but I think that might actually be his actual child, and maybe that's why. But she didn't leave, so it must mean that she's like, oh, I'm in good enough standing with Milo, he won't do anything to me, which maybe he actually does. I don't know about that. The fact that she stuck around, even though it's like, oh, you could have left. Because also Mike wanted to kill Milo, but he didn't have an opportunity, but that's why I'm like, I don't know if Milo's sticking around and he's going to be an issue in the future, or whether he is trying to disappear. Maybe his plan was to initially disappear, but with all the fuckery involved with Mike, it's like, no. I'm staying. I got to go after Mike. Or it's just like, no, this is his way to disappear. Like, Mike wanted Milo dead. That's why they're even searching for a body. It's like, all right, he did this disappearing act before, so they'll probably find a body or something, and they'll probably have some identification saying it is Milo, when in actuality it isn't. So I'm sure Mike is like, yeah, Milo's not dead. So that's still an ever-present threat, potentially. Once again, even if he's out there, even if he left, he's still out there, and that could be an issue. But, you know, maybe he doesn't want the smoke. Maybe he's like, right, got my bonds, I'm disappearing. Or like I said, the fact that he's like, oh, I'm coming back. Like I said, I don't know if that they interpret that as, oh, I'm coming to get you and a baby, or just, nah, I'm like laying low key on her in Kingstown. I'm not going anywhere. I'm using this money for not to disappear. Like, either I was initially planning to, now I'm using it for something else to kind of fund my takeover or whatever. Or maybe like the plan was never to disappear. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that voiceover from Mike at the end, basically talking about Kingstown, that basically what this town could, its resources aren't worth, like the resources you can pull from this town aren't worth the export of it type of situation. So what does the town do? Basically, it sells itself, and basically the hard labor of prison and stuff like the prison and stuff like that ends up being its like main and biggest source of income. It's like this town that is the nightmare that it is, you know? And we just see everyone who's encapsulated in this nightmare situation. So, we see the Robert, we see Miriam, we see Kyle outside of Miriam's room, and just like what this town is, the toll it's taken on everybody. And even Bunny just kind of, I think, looking up at the sky, but also just like, yeah, just because things have gotten real. This is where things are. It's like, I won't even say that we're back at middle ground in this season finale. I say we're still on the fringes. We're still on the edges of things. Things are just a breath away from getting even worse than they already are. There is no putting the genie back in the bottle. It's already going too far. Now, with everything that's going down in the prison too, what does that look like? Once again, Kareem, like, is he coming back? I mean, he's just going to probably do his job until potentially him and his family leave, but like, he's not the same after everything. So no one is. This ain't like oh man, everything's fine. Everything's honky-dory. It's like, no. There are so many scars like left on everyone at the end of this season that it's like, yeah, you thought things were bad after season 1. It's like, nah, somehow we found a way to make everything much worse. So what that means in the grand scheme of things, how this affects the future, we'll ultimately have to wait and see. At the time of me recording this, it has not been, Paramount Plus has not revealed any decision on whether or not there's going to be a third season. I don't know if that reluctancy. I mean, I'm wondering, does the Jeremy Renner's like condition right now? I think last updates I was looking at, he was doing better. I think he was obviously going through like physical therapy and stuff like that. So I wonder, is that a big reason why they don't want to like make that announcement? Because they don't want to feel like, oh, we have to immediately jump into production. But from what I was reading, some stuff here and there, Taylor Sheridan and Hugh Dillon, which I constantly forget. Like, right, I gotta remind myself, like, it isn't just a Taylor Sheridan show; it's a Hugh Dillon, the actor who plays Ian. Like, they made they both the driving forces behind the show. I was just reading a snippet of something saying like, yeah, they have plans for more seasons. But I'm sure, like, Jeremy Renner's circumstances, and also just whether or not Paramount Plus is like, oh, like, I mean, I hope we are getting more and more seasons, but I'm sure, like, obviously Jeremy Renner's condition, like, obviously probably comes first and foremost. That could just be, I mean, I'm sure they could if they wanted to write around that, but it's also hard considering, like, the name of the show is Mayor of Kingstown, so, I mean, I'm sure you could write around that, but it also would probably mean most likely, like, the season would probably, if it does come back for a third season, it'd probably, like, be pushed way further down the line, just to make sure. Because like I said, it's been a while since I've looked into the updates about him. So Jeremy Renner, so I don't know what his condition is right now, and I know that's some lifelong injuries he got. So. But I love to see a season 3. I'd love to see where things go in the aftermath. Like I kept saying, this it's just teetering between like things getting bad, and once again like where things stand between Bunny and Mike and Kingstown in general. Once again, the Milo of it all, what a season 3 will look like, even in the prisons, considering so the Mexican gang's leader was killed earlier mid-season, and now also the AB's dead. So the Bloods and the Crips kind of have reign. I mean, it's not even a Blood and Crips thing anymore. I was saying that earlier. I was saying, Blood and Crips. It's like, no, it's not even a Blood and Crips thing. It's just a black thing, because they're kind of, we're in this together. We're the same shade of people. So we got each other. So they're kind of going to be running things in that prison. So what that looks like. There's also the Evelyn of it all. You have to, because she was like, she made it clear to Mike, if I get this position, I'm coming for you and yours. So you better watch out. So Evelyn's not going to be. Mike did burn a lot of bridges this season, or try and compensate for everything that went down in the riots. So, and once again, there's also, the key factor too is also with the Bunny and Mike thing is whether or not Robert makes it. Because if he doesn't, the Hornet's Nest is already kicked because of what happened to him, but even more so if he dies. So, things with Tracy and Kyle, and once again Miriam, a lot of that has to be considered. So hopefully we do get a 3rd season, fingers crossed. Even if it understandably has to be pushed, just knowing we're getting a 3rd season at some point is all I need. So hopefully we get an announcement soon enough that with their decision, and like I said, hopefully we get not just a 3rd season, but more seasons down the road, because I'd love to see the show. At bare minimum, 5 seasons. Give me 5 seasons, I think is a good point. But whatever amount of seasons they need to tell the story that they have planned out. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.